We're sitting in a 2003 Nissan Altima with a 2.5 liter. Check engine lights on, pulled codes, and we're getting a P0335. Uber common on these, that's for the crankshaft position sensor. 99% of the time, it's going to be that crankshaft position sensor. Nissan has had trouble with these. They've issued a recall in the past. This no longer applies to this vehicle, but it's just an issue that these vehicles have. Instead of just launching a part at it, what tests can we perform to confirm that it is indeed the crankshaft position sensor and not some kind of wiring issue? So lighting, as always, isn't the best. You get a glare with these screens, but if you notice, it's having us check the sensor itself for resistance. It has a chart here. It's trying to focus on my glare. So we have a chart here, and it gives you the polarity. So if you're going to test pin 1 and pin 2, you want the positive on pin 1, the negative on pin 2 on your multimeter. If you're checking pin 1 and 3, again, positive on the 1, negative on the 3, positive on the 2, negative on the 3. And it looks like anything is good except 0 or infinite, which would indicate an opening. So they're not giving you an exact resistance value. They're just saying you should have resistance. Kind of interesting. So that is how we can check the sensor itself. So now the wiring, this is the crankshaft position sensor. It's below the starter motor. I'll show you where that is. So we have a red and green, that's our power. We have a black, that's our ground. And then we have this white wire. I highlighted it in yellow, but that's our signal. So that goes to the PCM over here. So that's our signal. So checking the wire integrity is actually pretty simple. We'll unplug it, or you can back probe, whichever. I'll show you where it is. It's not an easy place to get to, but we could check power and ground. If we're getting a good power and ground, we'll test the signal, and that's pretty much it. So the first thing we have to do to get access is just pull off the little air pipe, and you can disconnect it from the throttle body and then just lean it over out of the way. It resides, you get flashlight, back behind there, but tucked in. So right here's the starter motor. It's on the other side of the bell housing in the back. So there's really no sense in filming exactly where it is. I'll try to get my phone back there and take a picture of it. But I have it out. I already unplugged it. So once you have access to the wire, oh, and let me show you real quick how it unplugs, because it can be confusing, is this little green tab here. When it's plugged in, it'll snap and be in the up position. To unplug it, you push it down and then pull it out. So it's not a normal clip like this where you push down and pull. It's actually, you push it in. So that green, that green piece gets pushed in towards the sensor. Hopefully that makes sense. Okay, so if you look at, let me get some light in there. Hopefully this will help. Not really. Okay. Let me adjust it. So that white wire in the middle, that's our signal wire. So our power and ground are the two end wires. All right, so I'm connected in to one side and then the other side. Test light is hooked up. So if we're getting good power and good ground, I turn the ignition key on, that light will light up. Ignition is in the on position and we are lit up. So now if you want, you can do a wiggle test, wiggle everything around, the connector, the wire, the harness, everything, to see if you get any dropouts in the power and ground side of things. If everything looks good, then we could check the signal wire. So now to check the signal wire, we have it onto our white wire, our scan tool on engine speed, and we're gonna trick the engine computer to make it think that the engine is actually rotating. We have our test light hooked up to battery positive. And let me set my camera down somewhere so you can see everything that I'm doing. So with my test light hooked to battery positive, what I'm going to do is take the signal wire and just on and off, on and off, on and off. And that'll create a little pulse wave for the engine computer. You'll hear things turn on, and then I'll show you with the scan tool that it's reading an RPM. I don't know if you heard that solenoid click on. Hopefully it gets picked up in the audio. So now let me show you on the scan tool. Alright, so I have you set up. The scan tool is graphing, so hopefully you'll get to see a wave of the RPM. So let me go do that thing on the sensor. So this is the waveform that the engine computer captured and interpreted and sent to our scan tool. Looks like I brought up the RPMs to about 50 RPM and then back down, and then I brought it back up real quick and then back down. We see that the engine computer is seeing our signal, it's interpreting our signal, which is pretty cool, seeing how the signal is erratic and really not what it normally sees. But it liked it enough to give us an RPM, so that lets us know that the signal wire and the computer itself are good. Well, there you go. Just a couple of quick tests, and now we can be confident that our wiring integrity is good from that connector up to the engine computer. So we can go ahead, replace that crank position sensor, and we'll be good to go. Well, thanks for watching. Hopefully this was a helpful tip. Comment down below if you have any questions. Like, subscribe. See you on the next one. So this is the new sensor. Put a little silicone paste on it just for a little lubricant on that O-ring. But really, pulling it off is just a 10 millimeter bolt. You get it with just a long extension and a socket. Comes out pretty easy. You can't really see back there, so you just going by feel. So just by the feels. Just another tip, because these connectors are such a pain, I'd recommend plugging it in to the sensor before bolting it onto the engine.